Well, good evening again, everybody. Tom Romoser, 33 years at Harley-Davidson, retired 13 months ago, and this is the first PowerPoint presentation I've done since then, so hopefully I didn't lose all those skills. You should have 4 handouts. One is the slides I'm going to go through, and a lot of this material I took right from that Career Connections workbook that Guy had mentioned, so it'll be a good reference for you. There's also some worksheets that look like this. They're titled in the upper right hand corner pages 27 through 32. Those come directly out of the Career Connections workbook. And then there's 2 other supplement pages here from the Gallup Strengths Finder information. So that's there for your reference as well. So in the Maximize Your Career workbook, there's actually 6 steps that are outlined. And Aptitude is step 2, Aptitude, discover your strengths. For those of you that have been coming for a while, back in late fall, I believe Dave presented information on step 1, Attitude. So now we're into the Aptitude. And I had to triple check the spelling. I always thought there was 2 P's in Aptitude, but there is only 1, so that's good. So brief overview. So everybody is uniquely designed, and nobody else has your DNA and your personal history. So everybody is different, and those are all things that you can use to your benefit. The purpose of this section is to discover your aptitude, and aptitude is your gifts and your passions. There's a Bible verse there that comes from the psalmist, which states, "For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." So you really want to use the way you're made to your advantage. So everybody has 5 factors in their design that can be used in career planning, and that's made up of your experiences, which is your background and your education and vocational experience, your abilities, or what you do best, which is talents, knowledge, and skills. Your personality is how you do what you do best, in other words, natural behavior traits. Your interests, what you like best, and those are people, places, things, and activities that you enjoy. And values, what is important to you. That's work and life purpose, principles, or points of pain. So all of those 5 things encompass the design of yourself. I know, Guy, you said you weren't great at math, but there is a little bit of math involved here. There's a couple of equations. So your gifts are made up of experiences plus abilities plus personality, and your passions are made up of interests plus values. So those are too easy. There's no numerical. This is more like algebra, I suppose. So your gifts are the combination of your experience, abilities, talents, knowledge, and skills, and your personality. And then your passions include the interests and the values, things that you like to do and things that are important to you. Passions motivate you to use your gifts in particular ways and places. So really this section is about discovering your strengths. So there are exercises in the Maximize Your Career workbook to help you discover what your strengths are. And those are all found in those handouts, which are pages 27 through 32 in the workbook. And we're going to go through these at a high level, each of those different worksheets. So one section is around self-assessments, and that's pages 27 to 29, and that's to help you inventory your experience, accomplishments, and keywords. The second grouping is reference assessments, so that's where you would ask people that you know to help you determine what your experiences and talents are. There's professional assessments, which you can take online through the Career Connection website, and there's 3 in particular that we'll talk about. And then lastly, we'll want to summarize what you do best using those different worksheets. So we'll go each one of these here shortly. After you determine what your strengths are, you want to develop your strengths. And so, years ago, training used to be focused on what are your weaknesses, and we want to bring you up so that basically everybody was the same, right? Well, recently there's been more of an understanding that, not everybody's going to be good at everything. People have certain talents. Why not build on those talents? So instead of trying to if you're really weak at a certain thing and it's not that important that you're good at it, why not really maximize those things that you're good at and use those to your advantage? So a lot of the organizational development and training materials that have been come out in the last few years have been really focusing on your strengths. So we really want to develop those strengths. Unless, of course, you're not meeting some of the minimum requirements for a job, then you need to really bring up what some of those weaknesses are. But other than that, you really want to focus on your strengths. So now we'll get into those worksheets that are part of the workbook. And the first one is called Count Your Blessings, which is a self-assessment on your experiences. And that's the page 27 handout. And so this is where you would list places that you've worked and jobs that you did from high school all the way to the present. Make sure you include all work for which you were paid and major volunteer work, or things that you might have done with your church or Boy Scouts or whatever the case may be. All those things would really help you find out what are the things that you're good at. And after you enter that information, you want to circle the places and the work that you did and that you liked best. So you want to concentrate on the places that you like, the industries that you like, the types of employers, organizations, for example, and also the occupations, the positions that you did, like teacher, sales manager, etc. So there's two different categories there for you to organize your thoughts in that worksheet. Every HR, OD kind of thing, you got to have an acronym, a catchy acronym, right? So this one is called You're a Star. A star is made up of situations that you faced, tasks that you accomplished, actions that you took, and results that you achieved. And that's similar to, I think, last month or the car story. Very similar to that, when you're given an interview question, this is the same type of thing, is you want to focus on the situation, what task you accomplished, the actions that you had to take, and what those results really achieved. And that's the page 28 worksheet there. So really, these accomplishments that you describe become a story about you, and it helps you to discover your strengths, to target opportunities. It'll help you build those into resumes or help you network successfully with folks, and even will help you in the interview process. Another catchy acronym here. You are an A+ VIP. So this is the worksheet on page 29, and VIP is really the A part is abilities, what you do best, talents, knowledge, and skills. The V is the values, so what is important to you, purpose, principles, and burdens. The I is interests, what you like best as far as people, places, things, and activities. And lastly is personality, the P, how you do what you do best or your natural behaviors. So there's a 4-quadrant matrix on page 29. And then basically what you want to get out of this is you want to write keywords in all of those different areas. And those will also help you with the resume writing and within your LinkedIn profile as well. So you really want to review your experience and accomplishments and jot down some keywords in each of those areas. So those first three you can really do on your own. The next one is really a reference assessment exercise. So this is the worksheet, page 30, and this is where you actually ask some of your references for input. So it could be former supervisors, coworkers that you had, people maybe that you were the supervisor of. So people you feel comfortable with, you really want to have them answer some questions about you, because you might have a blind spot about things you think you're good at, and you might not think that you're good at something that maybe a person that worked for you or you worked for might be able to pick up and give you some pointers on. So in that reference assessment, again, worksheet page 30, you really want to ask them things about your accomplishments. So what are the top things that they remember that you've accomplished in your career? What abilities, what are the things that you did every day that you showed that you did very well? What are the interests that you feel that your references feel that you had, where that you invested your time, energy, and talent? And what did you learn or enjoy the most from their perspective? What positive personality traits come to mind when you think of that person? What positive values and character strengths do you have from your coworkers' perspectives? What are some of your blind spots or weaknesses, things that the person would need to have some improvement in? And lastly, what do your coworkers or references feel would be the perfect career fit for you? So they might even have some ideas that you would have never thought of on your own. So take some time to interview some folks, and even, I know a lot of you have just met maybe your career guides for the first time, but they could also help you frame that as well. This also maybe give you a little bit of chance to practice an interview from the other side, right? So you're interviewing somebody about you rather than being the one that's being asked all the questions. The next one is on the page 31 of the workbook, and that's the professional assessments exercise. And the catchy acronym for this one is PLACE. So find your place in life. The place is really personality discovery, learning your spiritual gifts, abilities awareness, connecting passion with ministry, and the E is experiences in life. This one, as well as the next two I'm going to talk about, are all online assessments that you can do through the Career Connections website. And this one should take less than an hour, so it'll walk you through some questions to help you find what a good place might be. That was part one of those three parts. The second part of the professional assessments exercises, and this is all about being lost in space and getting career direct guidance, getting a career direct guidance system. So this again takes about an hour to complete. This one analyzes your skills, interests, personality, values, and there's podcast lessons associated with this one. And ultimately, it'll provide you some clear direction in three different areas. One is career maximization. One is education and majors that you might want to explore that will be, geared towards your talents or desires. And lastly, it's occupational best fits. So you'll get information on all three of those areas by doing this assessment online. And then the third professional assessment exercise is called You've Got Talents. Similar to You Got Mail, I guess. You Got Talents. So that's really around Strengths Finder, right? So some of you may have heard about the Gallup or the Clifton Strengths Finder, and it was pretty big at Harley-Davidson the last couple of years. And what the strengths are, there's really 34 themes, and that's what the two additional handouts that I gave you are. There's 34 different themes, and when you go through this exercise, it will help you identify what your top 5 are. And you really want to use those top 5, and really those are the things you're really good at. Those play to your strengths. Those are the things you can emphasize in interviews. Those are the things that really make you who you are and will help you succeed. Again, many companies are using these in the OD&T field. A lot of people, their OD&T departments are gearing a lot of training materials associated with that. Kind of a shameless advertisement of the Strengths Finder. It's up to version 2.0 now. A little quote from Ben Franklin there. Hide not your talents, for they for use were made. What's a sundial in the shade? It sounds more like Yoda than Ben Franklin to me, but yeah, that's what that is. So you really want to have the opportunity to do what you do best every day. And so this is the material that is part of the website. You can get to links from the Crossroads Career website and take the survey that will help you find your Strength Finder theme. So this one is the handout that I gave you that is called Clifton Strengths Finder Quick Reference Card. I just listed 2 themes here we'll talk about because these happen to be the one called Context was in my top 5, and the one called Woo was in my top 34. I think it was number 33. So we'll talk a little bit about that. First of all, the Strengths Finder themes, they're really made to focus on your strengths, not to try to bring up some of the ones that are at the bottom. But you really need to take the survey in order to find out for yourself what are really your top 5. You really shouldn't go through that list of 34 and figure out, oh, this sounds like me, this sounds like me, this sounds like me. When you get in and you actually answer the questions in the workbook, it'll really help you identify where your strengths are, and it'll explain to you why. So don't just try to pick them out yourself. You really want to go through the work and do it. You want to be of and then develop your top 5, and it's really not intended to improve your bottom themes. What you really want to do if there are things that you're not good at that are important to accomplish a particular task, if you have the opportunity, you really want to surround yourself with team members that might have those skills rather than you trying to develop everything. Bring some other people in that may have some of those skills to help you. So let's talk a couple of these, right? So context was one of my top 5. Context is really, people especially talented in that theme enjoy thinking about the past. They understand the present by researching its history. And, I'm a big history buff. I'm into World War II history. I was at Harley for 33 years. A lot of the stuff in the museum is probably things that I was involved with. But you got to be careful that you don't live in the past either, right? So history is important. You want to learn from history. You want to make sure you don't make the same mistakes. But you also need to be a little bit progressive too and learn from that and continue to go forward. Woo, on the other hand, what the heck is woo? So that's really, if you're an introvert, you don't have a lot of woo. So I don't have much woo at all. That's why it was number 33 for me. But people especially talented in the woo theme love the challenge of meeting new people and winning them over. They derive satisfaction from breaking the ice and making a connection with another person. So I can imagine there's a couple of people in this room that's probably high on their list, but most of us is probably not too high on the list, right? So those are just examples. Those are 2 of the 34, and I brought those up because I remember in my own situation where I ranked in them and what I needed to do. So the other handout I gave you is called Balconies and Basements, and you can see by that handout that one of my aptitudes is not running a complex copy machine because the staple got all weird. And anyway, hopefully you can struggle through that. But really, balconies and basements, you really want to use your strengths for good, not evil, right? So when you're under stress, sometimes your go-to strength may become a liability. You might go to that really, really hard. When you're in the grip, you might really, that's your core DNA, and that's what you really grab onto. So you want to make sure that you keep that in mind and try to strike a balance. Well, what do I mean by that? So let's take the achiever theme for an example. So in the balcony, right, so when your strength is used properly or you're perceived that way by your peers or your supervisors, others see you as a hard worker who loves to be busy, right? So achievers are usually always busy, right? But maybe you're a little bit too busy, right? So maybe others see you as overly focused on work. So you might really get in your grip and you might be so focused on the task at hand that you're ignoring the other things that are going on that's important, either at work or your family life or whatever. So the point here is the balcony is when you're really using that strength to your advantage or to help you get the job done. The basement is if you're really gripping onto that and maybe holding on to it and focusing too much on that particular aspect of your personality. So there's a balcony and basement listed for all 34 of the different themes. The worksheet page 32 is titled Give the Gift That Keeps on Giving, You. And this one here is geared to help you do what you do best for people who need it most. And again, this is helping you to summarize your experiences, your abilities, your personality, your interests, your values, and your X factor, your spiritual gifts, or what God's calling are for you. And so you really want to, with this last worksheet here, take a lot of the information you've already kind of summarized and put it into a format that'll help you identify. Remember back to the beginning, we said gifts and passions. So your experiences, abilities, and personality are some of the gifts that you have. And the passions are really around what you enjoy and what's important to you that'll help you find the right fit kind of job that you're looking for. So after you summarize that, then you want to look for common themes and keywords and write down the most important keywords in each of those categories. So just kind of to review, Onward and upward to step 3 is what this next slide is called. So the next step in the Career Connection workbook road is Altitude. But before you can get to Altitude, you got to finish up the Aptitude step. So how do you make your career soar? Remember that there's nobody like you anywhere, that you want to memorize what your unique design is. You want to employ your passions as well as your gifts. You want to explore and discover your spiritual gifts and calling. Focus on developing your strengths, not your weaknesses, and complete the exercises and assignments. And so to dig deeper into any of those subjects, the pages are listed that come out of the Career Connection workbook, and you can log into that Crossroads Career org and browse there's a Aptitude resources link in the Career Connections workbook that'll get you all that information.